everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Paige from Casper Creative, and today's Dollar Tree DIY was actually inspired by a comment I received on Facebook. For those of you who saw my most recent Dollar Tree DIY, you know that I made this wall hanging out of foam board, and I used a special tool to make it look like it was made out of wood. Honestly, my rationale behind that project was just that we wanted something above our bed, but we wanted to make sure that it was a lighter material in case, heaven forbid, it got bumped during the middle of the night or something and it fell down. That way we wouldn't have to worry about going to the hospital with concussions. I decided to post a picture of this project to a DIY Facebook group, and one of the comments I received really caught me off guard. A lady commented that she had lived in California for many years and that it doesn't take very long before you start to become more aware of the types of things you put on your wall. Basically alluding to the fact that an earthquake can hit at any time, and so if you have heavy things hanging on your wall, they could become really dangerous for you. Essentially, she was applauding this wall hanging that I had created because it would be safe if somebody had something like this hanging up on their wall and heaven forbid an earthquake occurred. Now, most of you probably know that there was a pretty bad earthquake that happened recently in California. There was tons of devastation and they're still worrying about aftershocks. I heard on the news that people are sleeping in tents outside because they're so afraid of the aftershocks. And this just completely blew my mind. As a Midwesterner, we have our fair share of bad weather, but we usually have some idea that it's coming. I can't imagine just going about my business and then all of a sudden the walls are shaking and things are falling off left and right. So for this Dollar Tree DIY, I wanted to create something that might also be considered earthquake safe because it is lighter material, but it also sends encouragement and is an inspiration to people who might be struggling right now. I came up with the idea to have it say, "We are unshakable," as a nod to the people who are experiencing natural disasters such as earthquakes, floods, tsunamis, all that stuff. But even if you aren't experiencing a natural disaster like this, there are still other things that happen in our lives that try to rock us to our core, but we can stand firm and we can be unshakable. So this sign, while it was technically inspired by all of the earthquakes and the devastation that's going on right now, it really is for everybody and serves as a reminder that we are stronger than we often think. So if anybody watching this is experiencing a hard time right now, whether it's dealing with the devastation from earthquakes or hurricanes or tornadoes, or just if there's something tumultuous in your life, just know that my heart is with you. And even if I can't physically be there with you, my heart truly does go out to you. Hopefully you find some inspiration in this project. Let's get started. You'll want to cut down your foam board till it's about 27.5 inches across and 9.5 inches up and down. It's not a bad idea to cut it a little bit bigger just in case, and then you can always trim it down later. You'll be using apple barrel paint in white, and you'll be doing 2 parts of that. You will also be using their pewter gray, but only 1 part of that. Mix the paint together and brush it on using a wide foam brush. As you can see, my dog Chester is overseeing the project from the couch. Once the paint is dry, you can start working on the wood grain effect. Take the pewter gray and then with the wide foam brush, start dabbing all around the board. Just a quick side note, if you're not going to be using a wood graining tool, I would recommend dry brushing on the pewter gray as opposed to using a sponge brush. Now you can begin dragging the wood graining tool over your wet paint until you get your desired effect. And remember, it's okay if you need to add more paint or go back over an area. This is a very forgiving tool. And now we can start working on the border while this paint dries. To make the border, you'll need 2 boxes of these tumbling blocks, but you won't use all of the second box. Using a strong glue like E6000, you are going to glue 2 rows of 15 blocks together and 2 rows of 5 blocks together. Once the glue has had time to dry, use sandpaper and lightly sand off the excess glue that's stuck on the outside of the blocks. Once the blocks are sanded down, you can paint them black. I like this Rust-Oleum 2X paint because it adheres to wood really well, but you can use any type of paint that you want. I decided that I wanted my sign to look like it was made from several planks of wood. So right now I'm measuring to find out the height of my sign so I know how many sections to make. I discovered it's about 9 inches tall, so I'm going to do 3 sections of 3 inches. I mark the 3-inch sections, and then I draw lines all the way across. Using a thin paintbrush and the original pewter gray paint, I trace along the lines that I just drew to create a more defined look. Next, I draw some vertical lines in each section to simulate pieces of wood that are put together in each row. And again, I use that same thin paintbrush and the pewter gray paint to create a more defined look within the lines. I then paint some dots along the lines to make it look like there are nails in the boards. Once it's dry, I distress it using a little bit of white paint. I really like the weathered look. To make lining up the letters easier, I cut them out before removing the adhesive backing. And now I'm trying to find the middle of the word to make sure that it lines up with the center of the sign. Using a pencil, I'm going to freehand the words we and our before painting it on with my paintbrush. It takes me a few times, but I eventually get the outcome that I wanted. Using a small paintbrush and some black paint by Apple Barrel, I will trace over the letters that I just wrote in pencil. And now it's time to start sticking down the letters. If you are unfamiliar with these stickers that I'm using, they are poster stickers by Jot, and I usually find them in my Dollar Tree close to the foam boards and the poster boards. This is how it looks so far, and now on to assembling the border. I'm going to use a combination of E6000 and hot glue to glue the borders down. Pay attention to the way I'm holding this border piece in my hands. This is the direction you want them to be standing when you glue them to the side of your sign. As you can see, I do a line of E6000 and then a line of hot glue. The hot glue will help the border adhere immediately, and then the E6000 will help keep a strong bond over time. I originally did glue all of the wood blocks together for each of the long sides, but some of the pieces broke apart, but I'm actually okay with that because it would have been really hard to try to get a whole bunch of hot glue down that long side and then quick put it on the sign before it dried, so it ended up working out just fine. Once all 4 sides are secured, we can get started putting on the greenery. You will need 1 spider plant or some other type of greenery. Also grab some flowers. I chose these asters just because I thought they were really pretty and I happened to have them on hand. Ironically, I didn't use any of the spider portion of the spider plant. I just really liked how the leaves looked, so I divided it in half and then I cut apart the leaves. I arranged the leaves at the bottom of the sign to try to determine exactly how I wanted to glue them down. Using hot glue, I began gluing down the leaves. Sometimes I would do them one at a time, but other times I would do clumps of 2. Once both sides had been glued down, we can move on to the flowers. I simply pulled one of the flower heads off of the stem, and then I removed the plastic part that's on the back of the flower. And I also removed the center portion of the flower. When you do this, it makes it much easier to glue down a flower to a flat surface. You still have the nice shape of the flower, but it's a lot flatter, so it's not awkwardly sticking up. The center part of the flower has a little piece of plastic on the back of it, so I cut it off using my scissors and then I glue it back onto the flower. And now you're ready to hang up the sign. If you like this video, please make sure you give it a big thumbs up, and also if you're not subscribed to my channel yet, I would love to have you. So please hit the subscribe button below and make sure you hit the notification bell so you'll be notified anytime I upload new content. Thanks for watching!